The Titans of...
I don't know. Yo, this is Joe.
And this is Ben.
And we are the...
Titans of...
I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know. This is a special edition tonight because everybody that is anybody is all flipping out about this freaking election thing, man. I can't... I don't know. I voted. I took care of what I had to do, and, now it's up to America. There's people that are sitting at their TV sets right now that are, really, really anxious about what's going to happen, and you know what? You already did your part, or you didn't do your part. Whatever happens, happens. So we're going to do a special edition tonight of the top 10 metal vocalists of all time, kind of in my opinion.
And I will make my agreements or disagreements with that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, by all means. We will.
By the way, if Dave Mustaine is on this list, he went out and voted today because the guy's been super political since the 80s.
Yes, he has. But no, I would not put Dave Mustaine on a list of the top 10 metal vocalists of all time. I'm sorry. I would never do that.
No?
No, I would never do that.
Well, I think he would be on the top 10 metal songwriters list. For sure.
Yes. The greatest thing he could have done, and the thing that could have got him to be the most successful, would have been hiring somebody that could sing.
I mean, have you looked at this guy's track history with bandmates? First of all, he was in Metallica, and they kicked him right out.
Yeah.
All right. Then he started Megadeth, and the first person he got was Dave Ellefson, which
amazing, one of the best bass players of all time.
Which originally he went and met the guy just to shut him up because the guy was playing the same bass line from a Van Halen song, which I have to admit, he just played an A the whole time. It gets freaking annoying when you hear that for 2 hours straight. You just want to tell the guy to shut up. So he went down to the guy's apartment and told him to stop playing that freaking note. And then he went back up to Dave Mustaine's house, to his apartment, and asked him if he could buy him beer because he wasn't old enough, but he knew Dave Mustaine was.
That's awesome.
So they ended up jamming, and that was the first bassist for Megadeth. And then he went through a crazy amount of different people for a lineup throughout the 80s. One guy hooked up with his fiance. That guy's out of the band. The guys were selling the band equipment for drugs. They're out. There was all kinds of good reasons to get rid of these guys. So I can understand why he didn't want to really try to invest in yet another person that could do some damage.
Right. But he should have, because then he would have been, that guy would have been on the list.
But I will tell you, actually, as a singer, his voice isn't super appealing from the get-go. But when you listen to what he can actually do, if you listen to In My Darkest Hour, if you listen to that song, the guy is really singing his heart out, and it's actually very well done.
Yeah.
He actually is a good singer. He just doesn't have a voice for someone of, he's not a radio-friendly voice, even though he doesn't do any of those very harsh vocals or anything like that. His vocal style is just very different.
Right.
Anyway.
So number 10. I put this guy in here. He is not the original singer. And there's going to be two people on here that are not the original singers of the band, but are phenomenal vocalists. And in ways, number 10, Brian Johnson. Okay? The first thing that Brian Johnson did when Bon Scott died and he joined AC/DC is he wrote Back in Black. One of the quintessential albums probably in all of metal history. Definitely top 20, for some people top 10. But as a vocalist, there's nobody better than friggin' Brian Johnson. He controls the crowd, he controls the music, and besides the guitar licks, he became the band. So I put him at number 10.
Well, I don't think that's a bad choice there for number 10. I think he was pretty good. In fact, actually, that was, I think, the first band ever to acquire a new singer and actually do better record sales with that record with the new singer.
It's possible. It's possible because I have another guy further down the line. We'll see what you think because, you know, we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, he is amazing. So let's see. Number 9, I put James Hetfield.
Wow, he's pretty low down there, huh?
He is, and it's strictly on vocal ability. He's above Brian Johnson just because of what he's done. Metallica is, you know, God, what do you think? Top 5 metal bands of all time? Easily.
Oh, absolutely. They're kind of like, a good way to explain Metallica is like Metallica is to heavy metal what marijuana is to the drug culture.
Exactly.
It's the gateway metal band. People get into heavy metal by listening to Metallica. I mean, I started listening to Metallica when I was 10 years old. And then I started listening to Megadeth and Slayer and Anthrax. And then, you know, those were the big bands. I'm talking about 1990, 1991. That's when I started getting into this stuff. Mm-hmm. And then I found this radio station that's out here in New York, New Jersey area called 89.5 WSOU. It's a college radio station. So, and they, at the time, they still do, but it's different. They changed their format a little bit for religious reasons because it's actually, it's a college radio station. But they changed, so anyway, back in the 90s, they played very extreme metal, you know, like Deicide and, you know, a lot of other stuff like that. Which they won't play that anymore because of the satanic, anything that has anything to do with Satanism or hinting at that, or anything we're cursing in it. Obviously, they can't put that on the radio.
Right.
But Metallica, I mean, there was me, first of all, my friend who introduced me to Metallica, that was the band that got him into heavy metal. Even my wife. My wife's first heavy metal band that she listened to was Metallica, and she was like, wow, this is great. And she went out, got other Metallica albums, and then was interested to find out what other kind of heavy metal bands there were out there. So she started buying other albums of other bands.
Right. Okay, so my next one is might piss some people off. I feel like this guy is not only one of the best vocalists in music today, but he essentially is the band. The band wouldn't exist without him, without his vision, without his musical abilities. He just finds good musicians to accompany his brilliance. I mean, he's won an Oscar for music. And my number 8 is Trent Reznor.
Wow. Well, I definitely would not put him down on a heavy metal vocalist. I don't consider his music heavy metal.
Okay. Then maybe we could do a little bit closer to rock because, you know, industrial, I mean, he fits so many genres. He does heavy metal. He does hard rock. He does industrial. He does even some punk rock type things in his music. I just think as a vocalist and as a band leader and as Nine Inch Nails in general, he deserves to be on the list.
Well, I mean, he can do stuff with his voice that is very hard for other people to recreate. I can give him that. I don't think that his vocal ability is anything to, you know, shrug your shoulders to. He definitely has a good range, and the type of screaming that he does, it's not easy to do that.
It's not.
I don't
but he
think
is a classically trained musician. He is a classically trained pianist.
Came very close there.
Yeah. You know. It happens.
So, one thing is that with him, his music, because he takes a lot from different genres, and this is something about Nine Inch Nails that a lot of people get confused, is that when he started Nine Inch Nails, there was no such thing as industrial music. You know, he really paved the way for that style. So I understand why people get him wrapped up in the whole heavy metal genre, because you have bands like Ministry that kind of were on the heavy metal side, but did stuff very similar to what Nine Inch Nails was doing. So he got lumped into that category. So
Right. I mean, look at it. Peter Steele, I guarantee, wouldn't be doing what he was doing without Nine Inch Nails.
Well, I mean that guy, that's someone to talk about.
Yeah.
Because Typo Negative was definitely a heavy metal band.
They were, but they were also industrial.
They definitely had their industrial elements, but you see that's the thing about you have to. Even Fear Factory could be considered an industrial band.
Right.
I mean, those guys played some very heavy riffs, some really heavy stuff. They had 7-string guitars, and they tuned those things down, and they just played these really very tight, fast riffs, very metal stuff. But they had all these sounds in there behind it, all these synth sounds that gave it this real industrial feel. And with the singer, Burton Bell, with him singing, doing his clean vocals, man, it really encompassed that industrial sound.
Right. So that's why I put Trent Reznor in a hard rock category as well.
Hard
Like I
rock,
said,
yes.
But like I said, metal, hard rock. I'm gonna piss some people off with this because it's my opinion. It is how it is. Number 7, Ozzy Osbourne.
Okay.
But let me preface this by saying Black Sabbath, Ozzy Osbourne.
Wow.
Okay? Because as a band, Black Sabbath created pretty much everything in hard rock and metal that people love today. That genre might not exist had it not been for Ozzy Osbourne's vocals in Black Sabbath. Him as a solo artist, he took it and ran with it. I am not knocking his vocal ability on any of that stuff, but his Black Sabbath stuff is what created everything that we love.
Well, I can definitely agree with that. One thing was that if you listen to the very first Sabbath record, you listen to Ozzy's vocals on that album, and it just sounds like he's in complete terror, or he's like someone from beyond the grave singing to you. It's like really haunting. And the other albums after that, like his vocals still kind of do that, but it is a little different. That first album really captured something unique. The other albums after that with him were all incredible, every single one. And after, there's something, actually I read an interview with Tony Iommi talking about the differences between playing with Ozzy and other singers. And the first thing Tony Iommi said was that, Ozzy was more talented than the other singers, not in vocal ability like Ronnie James Dio. The man could sing. That man had an amazing voice, but he could not do something that Ozzy could do, which I thought was very interesting, which was anything you played on guitar, Ozzy could sing over that. He could find a way to sing over it. When they started playing with Dio afterwards, they found that they were limited to the kind of stuff that he could figure out a vocal melody over. So they had the right riffs just for him to sing over. So that became that just changed the band right there on the spot. It was like, I got this really cool riff. And he goes, okay, well, where do I sing?
So that's why is Ozzy's number 7. I mean, he's the quintessential vocalist in my eyes. Number 6 is going to piss people off too. Because this is more... This is the godfather of punk, okay? Not so much metal per se, but he could arguably be one of the best people on stage out of my entire list. His stage presence and his performance and everything that it encompasses is why I put him at number 6, and that's Iggy Pop.
Iggy Pop, wow. Well, I mean, as far as performance-wise goes, you really got a winner there, for sure. I mean,
his stage presence with Iggy and the Stooges commands attention. There is probably nobody on this list that could command more attention than Iggy Pop, because I guarantee there's nobody that can name a member of the Stooges.
No, you got Iggy Pop.
You
and
went to
then
see
there's,
him.
The other guys.
Bill, Fred, and Jim Bob.
Something like Jim
Exactly.
Bob. He's-
You don't even know how many members there are in the band, but you know you're going to see Iggy Pop. You know it's going to be a good goddamn show.
Oh yeah, and no one ever talked about the Stooges. People only talked about Iggy Pop, and when they referred to the band, they referred to Iggy Pop. They would say, "Oh yeah, I saw Iggy Pop."
Yeah, or Iggy and the Stooges. It was always him taking front and center, and he like CBGB days, way before that, the '60s. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. How old is he? He's 60 years old now.
Something
And he's
like
still,
that.
I'd still go see him. I'd still go see him.
Yeah, he's up there.
Number 5, this decision is based on vocal ability, not like his singing, not so much his ability to, sing over the guitar riffs that are created. But I put Ronnie James Dio at number 5.
Well, like I said before, Dio's singing ability was beyond Ozzy's. His ability to capture people vocally was just incredible.
And he made me rethink how some of those songs sounded. Like, I was so dead set that Ozzy was the only person that should be singing Ozzy's songs. And then Dio comes in, and I'm like, oh, I never heard that song that way before. That actually sounds pretty cool. Like, he came in and kind of reinvented, in a sense, Black Sabbath, because Ozzy was so successful on his own that people weren't really going to see them. There was no band after Ozzy left.
Right. Well, actually, when Dio took over for Ozzy, they had the Heaven and Hell album. They did a few other albums after that. But when they reunited years later, like back in the early 2000s, they didn't reunite and call themselves Black Sabbath, actually. Even though it was the same core guys, they called themselves Heaven and Hell. Mm-hmm. Because there was no way they can consider themselves to be Black Sabbath without Ozzy. It didn't seem right. So they didn't do that. And it was a totally different band once he was in there. And his solo stuff.
Not to mention the band Rainbow. That could be listed in top 100 metal bands of all time.
Oh, and it should be. Those guys were revolutionary.
And Dio as a solo band, amazing. So, number 4. Now this one I'm very proud of because I've met this dude. This dude is amazing, and one of the best. I would listen to damn near any song that this guy is on, and that's Rob Halford, Judas Priest.
There you go, Rob Halford. Yeah. Well, let's see. With him, the guy has a voice that, a lot of people tried to emulate over the years afterwards. Mm-hmm. Like the singer from Disturbed actually listed Rob Halford as one of his main inspirations for singing. Mm-hmm. And if you listen, I mean, they have very different vocals. Like their vocal styles are very different. But if you really sit down and listen to a Disturbed song, and you listen to this guy singing, you go, he's in a very different range than Rob Halford, right? Because he's a baritone, and Halford's more of a tenor on the higher side, right? He's like tenor leaning into alto, but you could hear that inspiration in the way this guy sings and the way he like puts out his vocals. Although he does a lot of very different stuff, you could hear that inspiration in there.
There is nobody else, though, on this list that can sing soft like Rob Halford. Rob Halford's scream is epic. It copyright. Nobody could do it like him. But his soft, like, if he was like a 70s crooner style, is unmatched. There's nobody that could sing soft like he can. Number 3. Now, this guy's in 2 bands. And as far as male vocalists go, has probably, I think he has the highest octave range of all male vocalists in metal today. And that's Corey Taylor.
Oh, well.
Corey Taylor's my number 3. Slipknot, Stone Sour, whatever this guy does. He even did a song I heard on this documentary that Dave Grohl did called Sound City.
Okay.
It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. He came in and did a song with him, and they wrote it on the spot, and the dude can just sing. Whatever he puts his vocals to is gonna sound good. I don't really think that I've ever heard a song that Corey Taylor did that didn't sound good.
Well,
The Slipknot album, start to finish, every song I love.
Well, I will tell you one thing about Corey Taylor, because I've seen Slipknot live a number of times, and I do notice that as the set goes on, his vocals tend to weaken. You know, like I guess it's hard for him to keep it up. So I personally wouldn't have put him that high on the list because of the fact that he can't endure singing for that long. But in the beginning, man, his vocals they punch right through the crowd. But as he goes on, you can hear his vocals power starts to wane. So
that's why he's had to change his screams a couple times, because he hasn't been able to maintain how he used to do it.
Right, and that's definitely a thing from improper technique. Although I gotta say, like that first Slipknot album with him on it was an incredible album, and he did great on that album.
Start to finish, there is not a bad song on that album.
No, not at all. And then Iowa, that was another great album.
The first three were epic.
Yeah, well,
Epic.
But you can see when they play shows, there's something going on with his voice that, you know, if he got like some training or something, or got a good coach to help him work out, you know, the incorrect techniques he was doing back then, he would have lasted a lot longer doing that stuff. Probably.
Okay, number 2 is another gentleman that joined a band that had probably one of the most successful debut albums in metal history. Okay? He's going on 4 decades with this band. And, like, how do you describe this man? Air raid siren, maybe? He's an air raid siren at the concerts. He projects. Everybody hears it and motivates the entire fucking crowd.
I already know who you're going to say.
Bruce Dickinson.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you something about Iron Maiden and Bruce Dickinson. So,
okay.
When Iron Maiden did their first 2 albums, Bruce Dickinson was actually a fan of the band, and he went and watched them play live, and he's watching the original singer, Paul Di'Anno, singing, and he goes, I could do a better job than this guy. I could be such a better singer for this band than him. And even though, like, Paul Di'Anno had, like, more of, like, the punk rock attitude, and you could hear it in his vocal style, too. You know, he had more of a punk rock attitude, which I don't think really fit with the band so much, although there was that whole punk rock element going on in England during that time period. It didn't really fit with what the rest of the guys were doing. And then they got Bruce Dickinson, and, I mean, the guy... Okay, so you listen to an album of Iron Maiden. You listen to their album, you go, my God, this guy has some pipes. And then you go see them live, and he does the exact same thing. He's like spot on, as if it was the album. It's incredible. You do not see that, even to this day.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. But unlike some of the other people on here, you have not heard any aging in his voice.
None.
Right? He just every night, every show, just perfect from start to finish.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know any other way to describe it, and that's why he's my number 2.
That's a great number 2.
My number 1, again, piss people off just because I can. This guy didn't have as long of a career, and most people might not consider him metal. But as far as rock vocalists go, he never, ever showed any imperfections in his singing, any instability in his presence on stage, his ability to draw out the crowd. Not to mention when they did that show for Africa, that Live Aid show.
Okay.
They were the number 1 band on the entire show, and they played during the day in like the middle of the set. And I'm talking about Freddie Mercury.
Oh boy. Okay.
And this has nothing to do with that song, the movie that's coming out, or anything like that. It's just
We
specifically
don't plug
because
movies.
yeah, we don't do that shit. Just because the man could sing. There was never a bad performance. And part of me feels like he never wanted there to be a bad performance. He demanded perfection out of himself and everything else. And, I mean, again, his career was cut short. In his older age, would he have been as good? I don't know. That's kind of like saying, Kurt Cobain would have been the greatest rock singer of all time, but no one ever got the chance to know.
Right.
Right? Because his life was cut short.
Well, I will say one thing. From listening to singers over the years, you can hear that most singers, especially male singers, their voice gets better with time.
Mm-hmm.
Other than maybe some guys who did a lot of drugs still do them or stuff like that. Usually, male vocalists improve with age. They just get better and better. I mean, look at James Hetfield. If you compare him singing from Kill 'Em All to singing on, a more recent album. I can't think of the name of it right now, but it's gone from my. But if you compare what he did from Kill 'Em All to today, the man has such a control over his voice, and we can take a look at that with Freddie Mercury. The guy was a perfectionist, and the guy. His voice would probably be spot on today as it was then, if not even better. I mean, the guy. So I don't consider Queen a heavy metal band, but they're definitely a rock band, for sure. They definitely. I don't think there's a metal band out there that does not like Queen. So I'll put that out there.
No, there's not.
I can't think.
And look at the people that followed Queen. Okay, like the spot they were in after them was David Bowie, The Who, Elton John, and then a couple special acts that came out and sing individual songs. Like Paul McCartney did "Let It Be" with a bunch of people. They ended the show with the tribute, the celebrity things. But as far as bands go, Queen was right before David Bowie, The Who, and Elton John. But they were the most popular on that entire show.
Oh yeah.
And shit, man, if he was alive today and he saw Wayne's World and saw that song Bohemian Rhapsody was as big as it is, and you cannot tell me that headbanging to Bohemian Rhapsody is not a metal feeling. You're in your car at a traffic light, Bohemian Rhapsody comes on and you're going crazy. That's a metal moment.
Oh yeah.
They created one of the most metal moments in cinematic history, and that is why Freddie Mercury is there.
Oh yeah.
He wasn't doing anything during that point. He was singing the nice little parts and everything like that, but then the guitars come in and it is metal.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, we have, "We Will Rock You." That could be a heavy metal song. There's almost nothing other than the vocals and the drums in that song. At the end, you get a little bit of guitar, but really,
the man commanded the entire presence of everybody with some clapping and stomping.
that's right.
That
was it.
metal.
It was really the vocals, the clapping and stomping. But I will tell you one thing about Bohemian Rhapsody. In my school, we put on Bohemian Rhapsody the other day, and none of these kids have ever seen Wayne's World. Yet, okay, this is how deep this goes into our culture now. None of these kids have seen Wayne's World, all right? Because I think the oldest kid in the class is 11. All right, so we have 11 and younger. 11, I think the youngest is 8 in the class. So between 11 and 8, these kids are listening to Bohemian Rhapsody. We get to this part, the part from Wayne's World, right? Where, really everything kicks in, the guitar comes in, and all the kids start headbanging. They just know that's what you do there. That part totally calls for that.
Right. It does. It does. That is why Freddie Mercury is my number one.
I gotta say something though. Panic at the Disco actually covered Bohemian Rhapsody, and my original thought was, there is no way a band could cover that song and do it any justice. I mean, vocally. I don't care about the other instruments. The other instruments I know people got, but vocally, could the singer really pull that off? I'll tell you what. I'm not going to share my opinion about that. You go listen to Panic at the Disco, perform Bohemian Rhapsody, and you tell me what you think of that.
All right, so that's where we'll leave it. Everybody go and listen to Panic at the Disco, do Bohemian Rhapsody, and comment. Let us know how you feel about it. Let us know what you think, and we're always looking for different top 10s to talk about on the show, so if you have any suggestions, let us know. For the Titans of I Don't Know, I'm Ben.
And I'm Joe.
And you guys have a great night.
Peace out.